Hello. Morning, or evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. Here we are. Sunday. Exciting. Next stream. More C++. More gameplay. Maybe. More tests, hopefully. Reco, Emery, Moose. I am perpetually expecting ranges, and I think it's only fair that you do as well, given my weird fascination with them. I will try to solve any problem with ranges. Much like when I first learnt about link in C#, and then all of a sudden everything is now a link problem, regardless of the absurd length and complexity it gets. I feel like ranges is now, it's nice to have that in C++. So we'll see. Hello, Julian, hello. Porn Theory, thanks for the resub, I believe, is maybe the nomenclature. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Wait for some people to filter in, and then we'll get on with it. Emery, 8 months membership, much appreciated. Thank you for hanging around. I hope you're finding some value in it. There is a new video soon? Question mark. I finished the technical content for the next video, which is always the biggest hurdle, and now I'm on to what is inevitably the second biggest hurdle, which is scripting, filming, and editing. But all the unknowns are gone. Like, I'm pretty sure I know how to write a script and film and edit it. I don't always know how to solve the technical problems for the video, so at least the unknowns are out of the way. 2 weeks, it takes as long as it takes, which is a useless tautology, but here we are. Yeah, hopefully soon. Obviously, if you are I don't think there's no real way of kind of like connecting as far as I'm aware, like the Twitch memberships. But if you are a YouTube member, then you get early access to the videos. So yeah, hopefully soon. Yeah, I need to clean up some logging. We need to clean up a lot of stuff. I've got a little bit of a to-do list somewhere. It seems really dark. I don't know. Of things that need doing. So there will be to-dos will get to done at some point. I think there was a couple of questions before we started. So I think, Connor, I don't know if you're still here, but you said you learn C++, and if you have questions, please, I will try and answer them if I get time and around to it. So please do use this as a resource. Hopefully it'll be useful to you. Hector, I was suggesting a game for a future video. I have a list of every suggestion everyone has ever given me via comments or streams, or just straight into the email inbox. I've put that suggestion on that list, and I will now offer to you the same weasel words that are for everyone, in that I can make no guarantee if and or when I will get around to it, but it sure is inscribed on the list, which I go to when I think about the next video. So it's definitely not lost. So yeah, that's what I can reoffer. Let's press a button and make myself a bit smaller and look at some code. So quick recap, I guess, where we're at and what we're doing. We have spent the first nearly 30 streams building out like a framework. I'm very hesitant to refer to it as an engine because it is not an engine, but it sure is a bunch of code that does things. So we got windowing, we got OpenGL function resolution, we got basic event handling, we got graphics, we've got physics, we got a few other bits and pieces. We've got quite an overtly complex log system. We got our maths, we got some serialization. We're looking pretty good. So now we're actually trying to build out some sort of gameplay. Clang does not like my logging framework, as you can tell. That's sort of on the to-do list to fix, but that is incredibly low priority because the compiler I'm using does accept it, and that's kind of good enough for me now. Right, exactly. It's a bunch of runes I've drawn in the sand that are at this point in time on my machine with my compiler, the right incantation to do the things I want to do might not work on someone else's. I am. People always ask, like, you can open source this, and like I guess the glib kind of response is, well, it is all open source because you just go back and watch all the live streams, which is, I would, whilst I might think is funny, is not necessarily helpful. I'm trying to get to a point where I can open source some sort of subset of this. As it gets more into like a specific game, I will probably, because I've got like assets, I've got assets and stuff that I paid for, which I can't redistribute, which is fair enough. I mean, I think I'm pretty okay with intellectual property laws and copyright laws, so I think they're pretty, not always great, but they're okay, and I intend to abide by them. So I can't redistribute those, so I need to kind of strip out some other stuff, tidy it up a bit, and get it into a state where I'm like, okay, here is like, if you wanted to play around with like 90% of what we've done, then go to this GitHub link. That's kind of the plan. I just really need to get this next video done, and then that'll buy me hopefully a little bit of time to think about tidying that up. So hopefully at some point soon. I'm a big fan of weasel words, so I make zero promise if and when, wherever, but maybe. So great question. So first time watcher, hello, thanks for coming along, glad you're here. Why am I passing the resolution to the window twice? Interesting. It's an interesting observation. This is the resolution. This is the screen space, the coordinates that I want it to appear at. I have, fortunate enough to have quite a large monitor. I think it's like 42 inches, 4K, but I only stream in literally the top 1080p section of this. So behind the scenes, if you pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, but there is a lot going on outside of here. And so when I launched the game, if it was appearing in the center of the screen like originally coded, you only have like a quarter of it, and I'd have to click and drag it every time, which just got a little bit tiresome. Also, because the mouse movement is inherently tied to the movement in the game, I would sort of click and drag, and then we'd be looking at the wrong place. So now it just appears in the right place. I guess it's an interesting point that raw values are somewhat meaningless. There is no it's hard to infer any semantics behind what these four numbers mean. Obviously, I use the use suffix to make them unsigned, but there's potentially we could have used like custom literals or something, so I could have had like width. But we didn't, because I think that's a bit unnecessary. But I think it's a perfectly valid point, and it actually kind of highlights just one of the issues that you can come across in programming. When you just looking at the call site is not always enough. You'd have to be like, oh, go to the header file, and then hopefully from there that would have provided some insight. But yeah, good point. Okay, so let's just kind of go through what we've got. If I can remember where it is, I think it's this. So yeah, this should take up the screen nicely now. And here we are. We have a skybox, which is a free asset that anyone can have, and then there's two barrels, which I've off of, is it CG Trader? Something like that, I purchased. And they are tied to the movement. So you do this, and initially we'd be like, I see. This barrel here now on the left moves. But in fact, the barrel on the left is static, and the barrel on the right moves in proportion to the camera. So every time we move right, that barrel moves right. But because there's no other frame of reference, like this, it's gone. This one here is always the same distance from the camera, whereas this one is always the same distance in the 3D world. So it just looks like the other one moves, but you can actually see, it might be hard to see, but the lighting on the barrel on the left is, regardless of where I am, it's always consistent. It's always got a little bit of green on there. But this one here, you should see, can you see the lighting moves? That's the one that's actually moving in 3D space. So that's what we've got. I'm going to put it on itch.io and call it a day. Yes, I mean, I'm not an expert in relativity, but if you say so. So, what we're doing is building out more mechanics like that. So the kind of idea, I guess, if you want at the moment, the concept, what we're elaborating is coming up with a bunch of different and interesting mechanics that cause things to move in interesting ways based on various environmental things. So at the moment it's basically us. So there's one, let's get some, it's probably easy just to get some code up, but I've got to remember what it's called now. Is it like so you've got object transformer. So you've got this base class, and the idea is that you call update as frequently as you need to, so presumably once per tick, and then you can get the position of this thing out of it. And we're just building up a series of these which we can effectively attach to barrels, and attach I mean in a very loose way. There's no ECS or like Unity dot system. Attach just means like stuff in a struct with a reference to the renderable entity, and then smash them together in the main loop. But yeah, so the idea is we're building these up, and I just want to just sort of spend this stream and n more streams building out a bunch of what might be interesting ones, and then once we've got like the mechanics, do something with them. I think the idea, what I've kind of got in my mind, and for anyone who is regular here, I said this last time, so I will probably say this at least once in streams. The idea is being that you have to get those, and they might not be barrels, whatever they are at the end, they're barrels for now. You have to get those to a target place, but everything in the level kind of moves. You have to kind of figure out how everything moves relative to you, and effectively like plan out your path. So it's like, oh, I know that this barrel only moves when I move right, so I need to move right here. But if I move right, then this one does this thing, so maybe I need to move forward a bit and then right. That's kind of where we're going. Yeah, I believe if you subscribe on Twitch, like there is some monetary incentive to me. In fact, I'm almost certain of it because I see the analytics page, but I couldn't tell you exactly what like the breakdown is and what Twitch gets. But if you do wish to subscribe, that's great, very much appreciated. If you have Prime, I think you get like a free Prime Twitch with Twitch, right? I think if people use that, that'd be great. Then that also has some sort of monetary beneficial impact to myself. I also need to make sure that everything needs to move over the same delta time. So delta time comes up a lot, and it's just like something I just need to fix at some point. I'm kind of in the headspace of coming up with interesting mechanics, and then when it all explodes at 1,000 miles an hour because my frame rate isn't consistent, I'll fix it then. But by and large, we've got VSync on, and we're not doing anything too graphically intensive, and I've got a half decent machine, so I think we should be like, whether you couldn't rely on it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be hitting 60 FPS pretty consistently. Great question. Does Twitch or YouTube members give you more percentage-wise? I think that's such a really good question. I think YouTube might, but you get different benefits from them. Obviously, for Twitch, you get ad-free viewing, which I think is, if you're just into the live streams, then it's probably better. YouTube, you still get ads even if you stream, but then you get a bunch of other like member benefits, behind the scenes content and early access to videos and stuff like that. So I think YouTube takes 30% of memberships, and I'm not quite sure what it is on Twitch. Maybe someone actually knows. I should probably do my research and know. But no, but I think it's just like a known cut, right? I think they just say we take 30% of memberships, which is why a lot of people use Patreon, because they take a smaller cut, but it's less integrated, and I'd rather just keep people on the platform. Twitch is 50% for affiliates. Okay, so there you go, I get half. So I actually get a better cut with YouTube. Well, thank you very much for being a subscriber member both. That's great appreciated, and absolutely not needed, but as in like, I'm obviously very appreciative of it, thank you very much, but I don't want people to think that they have to. If they can't, that's absolutely fine. I try and keep as much for everyone as possible, but obviously there are some benefits to you know, providing some sort of, I guess, financial contribution. Partner 70% together. Yeah, I'm quite far away from partner, because you need to hit 75 views consistently, I think, over like a month. No, not 75. Is it 75 viewers? I think. And I get that, but on YouTube, not on Twitch. But yeah, anyway. C++. Okay, so we got base class. I'm using just simple hierarchy, class hierarchy at the moment. I did have a thought earlier, as I want to do, about a way of kind of flipping this to better encapsulate the logic, which we might look at if we have to keep having repeated bits of logic between transformers. But for now, like, I'm all about the path of least resistance and getting something going. We can fix it later. Do I have donation alerts or something? No. I don't know if I should. I don't know what that gets everyone. Okay, right. So let's have a quick look at main. Let's see where this is wired up. So we have this sort of catch-all struct, which is a transformed entity. It's not the best. It's not the best naming I've ever given. Sorry. It's not the best name I've ever given anything, but it's certainly not the worst. It owns the entity and a transformer, and the transformer is a unique pointer because it's a base class. And then we basically create a bunch of these entities. Here are the two ones we've got so far. We've got the static object transformer, which static object transformer. All this does is it has no update. Like it is unupdatable. You can call out update till the cows come home, and it's effectively immutable, and it just returns the initial position you give it. So if you want something static, then you can slap that transformer on it. And then we've got the camera object transformer, which is what we wrote last time. And what this does is you construct it with the initial position and a reference to the camera, and then each update it works out the delta between the last update and this one on the camera and applies that to the position. So if the camera has moved 5 units to the right since the last update, then it will move the barrel 5 units to the right. Object, whatever. That's all pretty simple. All this is pretty boilerplate chuff that we've seen loads and loads of times before. And then at the bottom we just update those and set the position. If anyone's interested in ranges, we do use a range here to transform the value entities to pointers so that the scene can render them. Have I used the equals delete operation? I don't know if I've used any equals delete here. Actually, I'll tell you where I have used it in auto release. So this is just we wrote this like first stream or one of the early streams. This is just a simple class which owns like a non-pointer type, like an integral type, which you'll need to destroy at some point with a custom deleter. So think like Windows handles and stuff like that. You stuff them in here, and then it just makes sure when it goes out of scope, it calls the custom deleter, and then yeah, it's non-copyable because otherwise you'd end up deleting the resource twice, but it is indeed movable. But this was quite a while ago. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with all that. I want to write another transformer today. So what we did last time is we had some more tests, and because some of the tests were severely lacking, and we wrote another transformer. So I'm going to keep up with that pattern today. Going to write another transformer. We'll see what time we're at. I know you might need to fill out some more unit tests as well, because again, I want to kind of release it with a good suite of tests. So tests are like good tests are part of the documentation in my mind. You should be able to go to it and see how it's driven. Obviously, not all tests are the same, and some are used to like edge cases and regressions and stuff like that. But like, to get an idea of how like a primitive should be driven, tests are should be a good way of kind of figuring that out. Okay, right. Enough yammering. So the next one I want to do is the inverse camera object transformer. So if you move left, the thing moves right. If you move right, it moves left. If you move forward, it moves back, etc., etc. So I think where we get camera object transformer. So I'm just gonna a source game inverse camera object transformer.h, right? And I'm gonna have one of these. It's gonna pretty much just take all this. Oh, that's a. Go back and watch that later and find out what that is. Okay, so this is gonna be very similar, right? Going to have an initial position, has a camera. I think we discussed this last time. I might offload the position variable into the base class. I tend to prefer interfaces, i.e. things that are just pure virtual with no state and no default implementation. Like I kind of like the idea that, you know, here's just like the contract that you have to implement rather than here's like a contract and 20% of the implementation. But if we keep writing it over and over again, it might make sense to turn the interface into what is effectively an abstract class. Not that C++ differentiates those at the language level. There's no interface and abstract keyword like there is in C#, but conceptually. Source, game, now, camera. Right, so, steady inverse camera object transformer, blah, 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 blah. Inverse there. Okay. Light stay with cam instead of face cam. How rude. I'd have it on, but it's just got an annoying ambient hum. When I got it, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool. I'd like have it mounted on the wall and I have it on for live streams. It'd be a nice like ambient light, and it just hums annoyingly, which I think means I need to make another one? Question mark. Yeah, but it sounds great when I swing it around my tiny office. Okay, so I think this is, yeah, no, I don't think it's bad soldering. I think it is, that's by design. It has an ambient noise. So I just want to apply like I've done the easy bit, which is copying all the code, and now I've actually got to think about. Oh, someone subscribed. Jim Balcom, thank you very much appreciated. Okay, what am I doing? I'm putting off actually writing the logic. Here you go. Okay, inverse camera channel. Yeah, my wife's pretty cool with it. So I think I've even mentioned. Well, the thing is, I was like, if I can make another one, I really need a 3D printer. And she was like, fine. So that's what the YouTube money's for. So can you use the same class for pass and inverse param? Yes, you probably could. I'm keeping it separate at the moment, just because I might end up refactoring it later anyway to have like I almost like want the concept of like what's it called, like the chain of responsibility. So it'd be like, you know, you start with an initial position and it's like, oh, do I need to do this with the camera? If so, pass it on to this. Do I need to do this with the other things? And you can kind of chain up all the individual blobs of logic. But for now, like, files are cheap. What's another class between friends? Okay, so like so what we've got here is we take the vector difference between the last place the camera was recorded and the new place, and then we add that to the position. So we've moved right. So I think is it just that? Is it Is it just that? Do I apply the delta effectively the other way? Or I guess actually, more mathematically, that, right? Because the vector of a to b is b minus a. So if I just take the inverse vector, I wonder if it's just that simple. There's only one way to find out. Oh, good day. What do I do for a living? I am I'm a software engineer by trade. So this is for funsies. I actually spend the majority of my role teaching and running our graduate and internship programs, so I get to spend a lot of time talking about C++ and mentoring and talking about general software engineering and helping get people kind of get started in their career, which I actually really like. I'm gonna have another one of these, I think. Alright, and then what I'll do, stick another one of these here. So let's stick this one, I don't know, like -5, and then have this one as. This is gonna get really confusing. I think we're gonna have to stare quite hard at the output to check it is doing what we think it's doing. I'm not sure if that is the case. That's never been made to me. I think software dev and software engineer are very interchangeable terms. Yeah, we'd have to modify the shader to pass in some color value, but yeah, I think it might be. I think we will rapidly get to the point where we need to do that. So the suggestion was, I can't remember if I articulated it, was to make the barrels different colors so we can see the difference. And yeah, the current rendering pipeline is not set up to do that, but the good thing is we control the rendering pipeline. So that's just a mere half a stream spent doing that, and then we'll be golden. I mean, there's loads of things you could do. You could just slap another light on it and call it a day. Like, it's fine. We'll figure out something. Yes, I'm using WSL and I'm using Wine MSVC to cross compile to Windows. Pretty much purely so I can use Tmux and NeoVim. I think it depends where you are. Like, as far as I'm in the UK, there is no distinction between the terms. Well, there's exactly 30% less barrels than I was expecting. Oh, ooh. I'm really struggling in my head to to like reify what's going on here. One of them is static. I think we're going to have to do something to differentiate these at runtime because this is an absolute nightmare. I think we're gonna have to. Let's see what we can do. So let's have a what even shaders are they using? Simple shader. Do we want to attach just a bright light to one of them, to each of them? I wonder if that would be enough. Let's do. Let's add another light. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a massive bear trap Right, so let's, we can use ranges. Yeah. Right, you ready for this? So let's do stud views enumerate entities, right? Which will then give us a I always get it the wrong way around. I think it's transformed entity and index, right? And then we can do auto nope, steady on. Entity transformer equals transformed entity, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack this. Got it the wrong way around. Okay, fine. So what enumerate does is it basically gives you a view over a collection, but gives you the index along with it. So now every time I go through this loop, I get the elements in there, but I also get the index into it. And then I can just continue unpacking this. So now what I think we can do is we can do something like scene dot points index pointer maybe dot position equals new vector const auto position equals entity dot position. Actually, no. Let's take a step back. Okay, update the transformer. I can see there's comments coming in. I'll read them in a second. I'm just getting my head around this moment. Const auto position equals transformer. We get the position from the transformer, right? We then set that there, right? And then we set the new light to be the position.x, I don't know, like 5.0 position.y. Okay, so my thinking there is that we have light per barrel, and then we'll just set those lights to be different colors, and then we'll just make sure that each of them move. Why I say this is a bear trap is because I'm 100% going to add an entity to this, and then get to it. I could zip them together. Oh, no, there's a thought. Have I done the wrong entity? You're right, I have. Thank you. Good spot. I think actually zipping them together would be better, because then it'll just give me whatever the minimum number is. I'm just going to quickly skim through what everyone said. Yeah, okay, fine. I think actually, let's do transformed entity light and zip up entities to scene dot points, right? Is that not going to work for me? I really thought that would work. Sort of compile non-const. It just still have to be const, even though it's some weird part of the language says basically this has to be const, even though it's what is it? Isn't it the because structured? Oh man, I really should know this. Structured bindings doesn't create a new variable of that type as in explicitly. It's sort of like a weird alias within language, and there's some really weird edge cases with it, and I think that's the thing that's const, because I can still destructure it again here and get a non-const reference to the thing that's const here. Light, yeah, thank you. What's the why not zip iterator? Well, I don't want, but I don't want an iterator, do I? I don't think zip iterator is a thing, is it? Am I about to be schooled on ranges? I do like the term zipperator. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, why did I get rid of like the index and stuff before? Because I only needed that to get into the lights. Now that I've kind of smashed them together at high speed, I think it's fine. Okay, let's make these colors and try and remember what colors we set. So we've got, let's do red, green, and blue, left, right. Right. Let's put these in some sort of order. So let's do this one first. So across the x-axis, we will have, not that there, because that's not going to work for me, and it's not going to work for anyone. Right, we'll have the inverse camera transformer first, because that's the most left one. Then in the middle, we'll have the static one, and on the far right, we'll have the camera one. And then we'll color these as red, green, blue. And I'll just get rid of some of these other parts. Right. I'm hoping the lights will be bright enough. We can always boost the... Oh, actually, I think we can use the... I think the debug UI will allow us to fiddle with these anyway. Let's see what happens. Let's run some code. Let's do it. So a little bit odd that one's there. Right, we've got the three lights. Okay, so we've got the red one, and then we've got the... which is here. We've got the green one, which is here. And I'm not sure why the blue one is here. Those lights are not nearly good enough. What do I need to do to make them better? I want to like make some of these numbers bigger, don't I? That's not doing anything. It was a good idea, but oh, the position of here doesn't matter, right? Because they'll immediately get updated. Is the camera starting position making the inverse one on top of it the static one? It shouldn't be. I think it might be, but I don't think it should be, because my delta should be 0, right? Like, until I move, I'm just adding position 0. So it should be the initial position that's passed in, right? And then my initial position should be to the left. I don't understand why it's moved over. Line 95, what have I done wrong? What is, yes. What a great observation. Yes. We have to pass in the initial position This is the problem with constructing these together. It's not like I can just say take the position of this entity. I have to remember to keep those in sync, which inevitably I did not. Let's try again, shall we? Yes, floor would probably be easier. We could add that in a minute. It's just a box. I can render a box. Oh, that's more like it. Okay, so see, I'm kind of convinced it's right as well, but I don't know if I can fully justify why. So we can definitely go. I can just about see the colours. I don't know if it's clear, but I can see there's a red one on this one, a green one on this one, which kind of implies there's a blue on this one. So the green one should stay in place as we translate right and left. I think we might need to put a floor down to make this a little bit more obvious. Let's see if we can get a floor down. I can't remember how to do any of this. Const auto floor mesh equals game. Do I have a mesh loader? Cube? Oh, wait a minute, I've already got a mesh loader, haven't I? Cube, okay. So let's go const no auto floor entity equals game entity mesh I'm gonna need material, aren't I? When you construct an object, when you construct an object, do all the parameters you set when passing it in have to be public in the class, or can it all be private? So I think it's a good question. I think you might be conflating terms slightly. The things you pass into it are just things you have passed into it. It's kind of up to you what you do with the constructor. And then you are kind of free to copy them into public members or private members or whatever you want. So you can I would separate those two. It's not like you don't have to have a constructor which has every single member in it. Like often you do, because those need to be sourced from somewhere. But those are kind of slightly separate concepts. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, we're using OpenGL. Okay, I'm gonna need like a new. I think our simple frag might not actually be simple enough, because this is going to take all this stuff. It requires a texture, but I don't really want to pass in a texture. Maybe because I don't think I've got one. I'm just wondering if I just create another one of these, which has a color. I went to the University of Bristol. I don't think that's doxing myself. And the important thing about Bristol to remember is that their motto contains Vim in it, so that's why you can't really argue with that. I do have some textures in the TLV. I can't remember what I got, and I don't know if I need any of them. I feel like I'm kind of wasting time here, like not really progressing anything. But this is it's kind of easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis. Can I just hang on? No, there's arguably an easy way of doing this. I just create my own texture, right, which is white, which is just 1 pixel by 1 pixel. That is surely the easiest way of doing this. Then I can just construct my texture here, right? So let's do auto floor texture equals game texture just steady description, and then dot width equals 1, dot height equals dot 1, equals 1, dot format equals game texture format RGB, dot usage equals game texture usage sRGB, sure, and then dot data equals OX to it's not gonna let me do it because it's not a byte, is it? Ugh. Thanks, C++. Thanks. Right, I think that sounds good. The only problem doing 2x2 white-black alternating is, I think, because I don't have mipmaps or anything on, I think it's going to get really weird demuave patterns, and I don't control the UVs either, so I can't really stretch it out. So I think at the moment, just a block color kind of gets us where we need to go. But yes, I think a checker pattern would be more ideal going forward. I'll add it to the list. I'm glad you've got your. I don't really go by Nate. Just FYI, it's not really my thing. But regardless, it's cool that you got your Vulkan compute shaders working. I'm yet to kind of redabble in compute shaders. That's pretty cool. Is OpenGL harder to learn than SDL2 or Raylib? I would say yes, in the sense that they are solving different problems. So SDL2 and Raylib are designed to provide an abstraction over the hardware. So you'll be talking more in terms of like, can I have a window, can I have a sound device? I think SDL2 even has like basic rendering codes, like SFML does, like draw a sprite here. And Raylib definitely has that. So yeah, whereas OpenGL is like lower level, right? You need to figure out how to like get upload data to your GPU and compile shaders and stuff like that. It's not OpenGL, I don't think is horrifically complex, but it definitely is like the next level below SDL and Raylib. It's not in any way like me being disparaging or anything. I just call it out as I see it. It's just not how that I've ever been referred to in my life. Okay, cool. Got a texture. So now I should be able to just reuse the existing. Oh, I'm going to create a sampler, right? I really remembering how it's code. I think I just reuse the default sampler because I don't think the sampler does anything interesting. Oh, so we could potentially create a checker pattern with maybe a more complex sampler, question mark? Sadly, I left university before I got a PhD, so I don't get to use the doctor accolade, which is, I think, for me, the one reason to go get a PhD, because I would absolutely refer to myself that at every possible point. Maybe I'll get an honorary doctorate one day. Am I thinking about adding more graphics APIs? Great question. No, purely because well, it's not really an engine. I'm kind of keen to make that distinction. I want to make a game from scratch, or as much from scratch as possible, only really writing code that kind of gets us towards the game. And so I've kind of picked Windows and OpenGL. My concern is that I would spend so much time writing more abstractions and more graphics code that we would never drive us any further. Like, we finally got into gameplay 30 streams in, and I've wasted 20 minutes still trying to render a cube. I think adding all the complexity of something else on top of that potentially doesn't really get us where we want to go. I think future streams, maybe. I've mentioned this before, I really want to make an FPS. It won't be this project, but it might be the next one, and maybe we'll do something a bit more interesting with them. Okay, so how we can do, now we do auto, can't be const, floor entity equals game entity, and then this has a mesh, a material, a position. So let's do, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I want to do something like 0.0f minus 1.0f 0.0f, and then the scale is going to be like, let's do like 100.0f. If I've dropped it -1, I want to make it go up 1, but it's already a unit, so I think the scale can stay the same, and then 100.0f, and then I need to create another. Can use some more ranges. Actually, no, I think. Const auto floor sampler equals game sampler. Right, and then here I should be able to have, this is a vector of tuples, right? I can take the floor texture, floor sampler, and then I just need to add it to the entities at the end. Dot entities dot pushback, whatever this is, floor. We might need to put a pattern on it, actually thinking about it, because I don't know if what this is actually going to get us. We shall see what we shall see. Well, I have. What are you doing up there? Am I in it? What? have I got the scale wrong? Like, it's one down, it's a unit cube, right? It's a unit cube. And I've moved it down one, and I made it bigger in the X and Y direction. Unless I am... Yeah, I think... I'm gonna have to... I've got no choice but to break out render doc now. Because that is somewhat breaking my understanding of how this works. All right, launch application. A second. Projects, game, build, source, game. And then the command line is /assets. All right, launch. What? Oh, it's got the build directory wrong. That's why I need the build directory. Oh, actually no. In which case, I think I just double up that. That's fine. That'll work. That'll be fine. There we go. Okay. Oh. Jim, became a member. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, capture that frame. Let's have a look what's going on. So if no one has ever seen this before, this is a tool called RenderDoc, and it is absolutely magic. Well, there's no such thing as magic, but it's pretty close. You run your graphics program through it, and it allows you to take like a capture of a frame, which I've done here, and then it literally breaks down all the graphics calls that you made and allows you to inspect everything. It works for Vulkan, OpenGL, and DirectX, I believe. Pretty good. So you can see here, before we do the color correction and the tone mapping, that's what we end up with. So this is our initial color pass. So bind the frame buffer, clear that, use the program, draw elements. So the first thing we do is draw the skybox. That's 36 triangles. There it is. That's our skybox. And then we go down, and then we find a whole load of stuff, and then we draw a barrel. You can see here, look, I don't think click here, and it got the barrel in there. And then again, mesh viewer, that's our barrel. It's pretty triangle heavy at the moment, but we can simplify that later. Oh, very heavy, very heavy barrel. I don't know. I don't know what Intel GPA is, but I maybe I'm just showing my ignorance in the in the area that I live stream twice a week. I just make this up as I go along. What's C++? Okay, so you get another barrel. You get another barrel. And you get a fourth barrel? Question mark? Have I just... No, surely. Mother... Just drawing a massive barrel, mate. That's absolutely bloody massive barrel. I would definitely agree that the tool, like, I'm a big fan of like knowing your tools. The better you are at your tools, like the better your life will be. Like investing in getting good at Git and stuff like that, it can make your life so much better. But sometimes, like in the moment, I could have solved that much easier with that than going to learn another tool. It doesn't mean I shouldn't be getting better, and I'll probably try and look at that in my downtime. But for like this now, when I've got 100 people staring at me, like waiting for me to solve a problem, I'm probably just going to stick with what I know. But it's a good point, and I'm always interested in learning new tools. Bang. Smack the mic around. What? Is it already a pointer? What does cube return? No, cube returns... Oh, the mesh data? Question mark? No, then loads the mesh data. Probably don't need that here anymore. Might leave loading in there. That's the mesh data. So what's the... It's been so long since I've written any of this. What's the constructor for mesh? It does take a mesh data. Okay, fine. That's fine. Don't worry. I know you're not worried. But just don't panic. All that error to basically say you passed the wrong type in, like all the information is there, it's just not particularly intuitive. Oh yeah, it's true, yeah. Like I joke about having downtime. Sure as a box. Why has it got like a weird... What is that? So I have absolutely 100% not written shadows, so I don't know why my box has a weird gross stain on it. I think that's right though. Like that's actually given, yeah, that's actually given a good reference point. The other one does move entirely the opposite. Is it the material we put on it? It's the same as the other material. I like how you can see the lights on it though, and you can actually see the blue light on that barrel there a little bit, which is nice. It could be a little bit brighter, but you can see the lights. I think it does need to be down like another one. But I'm curious to know, very curious to know what that weird artifact is. I think the floor helps like quite immensely. I could see it then, what we've been doing. The fact that I move right, one moves right and the other moves left, and forwards and backwards. I'm kind of curious what this weird stain is. I think the origin. I think we had this discussion before. I think the origin of the barrel mesh is at the bottom, not in the middle. We could. I think we could look at colouring the floor a bit. I still don't know what this artifact is. I'll have to look at that in a minute. Ooh, it's not my mouse, send it flying. Okay. What would be... I'm wondering if we just write another shader that has a checkerboard pattern. I think ultimately I think that'd be useful anyway, right? Yeah. Do I have any experience in importing MS-DOS DirectX? No, which is probably not the answer you were looking for. Do I have any tips? I mean, without knowing the scope of the project, it's kind of hard to say, but I would definitely set up a situation where you can like try and run them both side by side, and effectively you're gonna have to treat the DOS one as almost like a black box, and like, can I just recreate what this looks like? Yeah, I think we do that. I think we'll do that. It's been a while since we've written a shader, so let's do. I think simple vert might still work for us, because I kind of want this to be a drop-in replacement for the other one. So I think that's fine, and we can bind a texture and just not use it. Okay, so let's do frag, right? And then do assets. I don't want my checkerboard dot frag, right? I'll have all of that, and then we'll still calculate the light on it. I think that's useful. And then basically our albedo will be how we calculate that. And I have some code for this somewhere. Hold on, I've definitely done this before. GitHub question mark. I think I've done it in the latest video. Spoiler alert, has some graphics stuff in it. God, this code is a mess. Right, okay. So I want to vec3 checker pattern. I want vec2 UV equals what my UV is called in this text chord. Text chord times 5, which basically sets the distance between them, and we can tweak that as needed. And then I think it's bool c equals mod. I'm just copying this from some notes, by the way. I'm absolutely not just like rattling this off of my off the top of my head. uv.x plus floor uv.y 2.0 is greater than 0.0. So what this basically does is it checks based on the UV whether it falls into one color or another, and then basically return C. If it's 1, we'll do vec3 0.0f, and if it's the other, what's a good purple hex code? What's 157 over 255? 157 over 255 will be 0.6. So vec3 0.6 1.0 sorry 0.0 1.0. Right, I think that'll do. Can you bind a blank texture? I think you. Well, I'll just keep the texture I've already got in there. Right, it just doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think any large task you've got to figure out how to break it down into parts. If you're just like, I'm just going to sit down and code continuously till this is done, I think you'll get stuck very quick. Right. Okay. So now I can do checker pattern. Isn't that exciting? Okay. Right. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. And now we can go. We can keep the vertex shader. Nice. Okay. And now we should be able to do const auto floor fragment equals. Oh, hang on. Nope. const auto checker frag file equals resource loader dot load checker. Oh, what did I call it? Checkerboard frag. Checkerboard dot frag. Okay. I'm gonna keep that consistent actually and call that checkerboard frag. And then floor fragment equals. Actually, I feel this should have a more generic name anyway, so it should be like const auto checkerboard shader equals game shader simple. No. Checkerboard frag shader dot as right dot as string game shader type. I will pay attention to what everyone's saying in a second. Okay. Checkerboard frag file. Okay. Yeah, so auto is for type, it's auto type deduction. It basically, so C++ cares very deeply about types because it needs to know how much space to allocate and layout and stuff like that, and types are fixed. So unlike Python where you can change the type of a variable, C++ like C Sharp, you can't once a variable has a type, it always has that type. What auto does is basically just say, I don't want to type it out. Can you please just deduce it based on what's on the other side of the equal sign? Basically. It follows the same rules as template type deduction, but those are also miserably complicated, so it probably doesn't help you. But yeah, I quite like this style of always having the auto the thing equals the thing, but you don't need to do that. C++ spoils you for choice on how to initialize variables. I quite like this. I think it just keeps it nice and clean. Yeah, that's kind of auto checker board material equals game material. I think I can reuse the vertex shader and then have the checkerboard shader, right? And now this can have let's see if it works. Thanks for coming along. See you later. It's nice for really large types, yeah, like long, like verbose types. It's good because if a, oh, not like that. Whoa. If you assign it to the result of a function, you don't have to care what that result type is, and if that result type changes in the future, you don't have to refactor it. It's got a lot of this. I think auto, when it came out in C++11, everyone was like, yeah, auto. And then the advice, as always, changes over time. I think the current advice is AAA, like almost always auto, but I pretty much... The only time I don't use auto is when I actually want to be very explicit about the type. So say if I'm doing serialization and I want to make sure I've got exactly a 4-byte signed integer, then I'll use it. But even then, I would probably just do auto equals, like, stood in 32T. Shader, why is it not like my shader? So line 88, I'm so glad we got this, the call stack print out the exceptions. I mean, partly it's because it makes your code easier, I say, and it is less typing. If you've got like a vector and you need an iterator or whatever, then it's just like a lot of typing, especially in like loops. Like range trace 4's loops is just so much better with auto. And also, I guess if you want to be really technical, you have to use auto for lambdas because the type is compiler dependent, is implementation defined, and you're not actually kind of supposed to know the type of a lambda, so you have to stuff it in an auto. What is it even printing there? What was my error on shader line 48? Okay, it sure did fail to compile the shader. Is that the exception message? Shader ternary might be wrong. Yes, potentially. I guess the easiest thing is we can let's just strip this back, right? This is exactly equivalent to this, as in what we had before. Oh, hang on, vec3, vec4. It's definitely not going to like that, is it? But I would have expected... Yeah, okay, fine. So let's just try vec4 checkpam1. That is definitely potentially an issue with it. Well, someone else said line 70, shade line 74. Here, what do we not like about this? What do we not like about this? Oh, what is that? Sorry guys, I got there in the end. I did. Oh. Yeah. Do we want them a little bit more together? I think they could be like at least half the size, right? Ah, that's better. So I think, so someone's saying like, I wish you didn't have to have the full path. That we are in control of that because I have a custom exception class which includes the stack trace and a custom formatter. So I could probably just handle that myself. You're right. It's just kind of as it comes out, but we have the machinery to make that simpler. I've just not bothered yet. Yes, I mean, even like this, we could be like, oh, can you get the barrel over to like this square? Do you know what I mean? Just to start with. Yeah, that's much easier to see. I'm actually kind of thinking now, how did I do, like, please ask questions about anything I've written, because it's definitely worth going over. Okay. Yeah, so the exception stores a std stack trace, and then I think here, yeah, I just whack the stack trace out to the formatter, which will just do that by default, but there's no reason I couldn't iterate through this. I think it's a range in itself, or you can access it via range. I could then format it better. So it was just convenience. Like, I've got the stack trace, and then we spent about an hour trying to work out why my paths weren't correct, and it was a weird, miserable WSL issue, and then you just slap that out to the formatter. Stack traces came in 23, I think. Well, it's basic stack trace, because obviously you could have a wide stack trace. 23, yeah. Or PMR one as well, but who's using PMR? Okay. They're really good. Like, it's just such a, like, it's just one of those things that's really funny when you kind of talk to people about C++, and you know, you like people who are like doing C# and like, oh yeah, we're getting all these great new features. Oh yeah, and it's like C++ like 50 years, and it's like, gonna get a stack trace. like finally there. There's a paper in for C++ 26 to officially agree that there are only 8 bits in a byte, because at the moment in the standard it has to be at least 8, and it's like we're solving the real problems now, guys. PMR is the polymorphic allocator. It basically is. I'm not surprised you've not heard of it, because I don't know anyone who's using at least the standardized version, as all I'll say, in Anger, but it allows you to pass in what's called a polymorphic allocator. So the standard vector has let me just embiggen that a bit, has a compile time allocator. It forms part of the type. So if I create my own custom allocator, or 2 or 3 or however many, and I stuff one of those in a vector, I cannot copy that just through the language to a vector that has a different allocator, whereas PMR makes the vector have it as a runtime construct. It's no longer part of the type. So you can basically say that, I've got a vector here which uses like a pool allocator, and a vector here which uses malloc, and a vector here which uses like shared memory, whatever, and then you can copy between the two of them, and internally it kind of figures it all out and makes sure it copies all the data from one allocator to another. I don't know anyone who's like, again, using it seriously in Anger, the standardized version, but yeah. A basic exception is now printing stack traces when thrown and not caught. The standard is still the same. If you throw an exception, don't catch it. If it escapes the boundaries of your program, it will just straight up calls to terminate. Like that's what it does. It will just terminate your process. Okay. Anyway, bit of a sidetrack, but it was kind of happy to go through it. That's pretty pleased with that. Hopefully everyone can now see kind of what's going on. So we've got this. Yeah, it's so much more obvious that this one is static now. I think the floor might need to be a little bit higher. And my draw distance is really shallow. But anyway, all future problems. Okay. I'm trying to think what to do next. Gotta embrace it. C++ gives you, should at least be using it for RAII, right? You don't really want to be having to call delete on every single if else branch on the way out of your code. That sounds like a nightmare. I'd much rather get the compiler to do that for me. What do we want to do next? We've got, I suppose we should, no, I'll tell you what we're going to do next. I'll give you that choice, and I'll immediately rescind it. We're going to write some tests, and then we'll see what we're going to do. Oh, Nebula Games gifted a membership. Thank you very much. What kind gesture? Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we might have to do some sort of trigger at some point. But first of all, tests. What was the last one called? It was like camera. This. Okay, I think we had very basic tests. Which was something along the lines of, does it move the way we expected it to? And then we did this and we're like, oh, vector is not very well tested at all. So I think we can basically copy this and just update the logic, which is fine. It's more, this is less to test it works, because it's quite easy to visually verify. It's more of a safety net to prevent us from accidentally introducing a bug. Yeah, fake freedom. Okay. I think it's just, just copying it, right? Tests, camera object, 2 tests, camera object, inverse, right? Nice. Camera inverse. And then we don't want that, we want that. And then where's the camera inverse? I think it's just like that, maybe. CMake tests. Inverse or inverse? Yeah, it's inverse, isn't it? Okay. Whack that through the compiler hole. It's the REPL cycle of developing. That's why I've got. I mean, that's why I've got no hair left, right? I started losing my hair when I started learning C++. I'm sure it's not in any way a coincidence. So really great point there. Like optional, which came in 17, and result, which 20 or 23. I can't remember which way it worked because it's expected, isn't it? I think optionals are great, as I think optionals are one of the most important vocabulary types they introduced. And again, I can't believe it took till C++ 17 to get it, but it's just like conveying like this may or may not return something, and it's kind of up to the caller to decide. But you know, it's either constructed it into that or it's not. It's unbelievably powerful. Like optional is one of my favorite. Well, not even a language. Sorry, library constructs. And then it stood expected is basically just that, but with information of why not filled it in. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So you test this. Looking good. Well, my thoughts on variant. I mean, I've used it. It's great. As in, like, it's infinitely better than a union, which is what it's designed to replace, right? It's a type-safe union. Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, everything in C++ is open up for some sort of abuse. But I think, you know, you get a bit of type safety around it. The problem with variant is kind of visiting the members. There's like a couple of ways of doing it, and they are all demonstrably terrible. So where we have here, I have to. The way I do it when I get an event. So our event type. Is a variant of all the possible type events, right? So when you pump an event from the window, you'll get one of these. Again, it keeps the interface super clean, right? Here's an event. In fact, actually, it might even be an optional. I think it's an optional. It's like you either did or didn't get an event, because then while I get the event, I just keep going. But you have to like std visit, and then I need like, you know, a perfect forwarding reference, and then I've got to decay it, and then I've got to use if context. But like, well, it's used like a lot of quite advanced. I would say quite advanced C++ stuff to do what I would consider not an advanced thing, which is just to like do something with the thing inside of variant. So I think that's kind of a bit annoying. There are obviously alternative ways of doing it. You can do it with type function objects with overloads for specific types. I think you can just query it, like if it has this type, do this, else if it does this type, do this. This is just the way I chose to do it because I think it's quite clean and inline, but again, like still like a lot of typing. No, I wish I could stream till midnight, but I do have to get up and go to work, I'm afraid. Well, what you want is pattern matching, which is kind of languishing in the standards in the sort of process at the moment. Unfortunately, I was hoping we might get it for. I know someone who was working on it, and it's quite complex and it's gotten a little bit stuck. What was someone saying? Any real benefit of optional having support for holding references? I think it probably should. There is a difference between an optional reference and just using a pointer, right? But don't know. Not hugely opinionated. I think my opinion of whether optional should have references is if they added it to the language, I wouldn't be mad. If they didn't add it, I wouldn't be mad. So I think at this point, there's never been a point where I'd be like, I desperately need this. So I think I'm kind of ambivalent towards it. But that doesn't mean it's not useful to some people and we shouldn't have it, or it is a pain in the ass for some people and we shouldn't have it. I don't know. But for me, my opinion is I somewhat ambivalent to it. This is true. There is a beer in the fridge with my name on it. Okay, right. So I think we could comment this up. Like I think this sounds like something people who write code do. So we've got add checkerboard frag shader, and then what else we got? We'll add the add that, and then we'll add the test. Okay, add inverse camera object transformer and tests. Can't forget the tests. Spend a lot of time around those. And then what did I change in mesh load? I just clean up logging, and then integrate changes. My absolute cop-out weasel words. Commit message. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I think I'm not. I've read the paper suggesting it, but it was so long ago I can't remember like the pros and cons and like what it was getting and the potential, the pitfalls and stuff. So, like I say, I'm not. I don't think I'm like for or against it. Yes, produced code. Okay, so we've got about half an hour left, maybe slightly more. I could go through adding some more tests, but I think we've got quite a lot done. I'm kind of tempted to start working on, or maybe I now will give people the illusion of choice. There's always tech debt to go pay back. There's tests to write, and there's now definitely more transformers to write. The next one I want to write is quite complex, so it might be best saved for next time. Don't know. Or we can just go through the code and see if there's some meaningful changes we can make. Yeah, let's have a look. Let's see what I've got. I do want to change something. I do think this should be a struct. Because I just think unpacking the tuple and stuff it's not like the end of the world, but I'm kind of annoyed myself for doing it because I very rarely just shove stuff in a tuple. I'd almost always prefer to declare a struct because the named members are easier to deal with. But like, maybe we'll just do that. So that's like, well, actually, hang on. Let's have a think about this. Why do they need so what's the mechanics? Okay, like what is this and why is it done like this? OpenGL has the concept of a texture, i.e. here is a bunch of red RGB or whatever your format is values in memory. Like, well, here's a bunch of data, upload it to the graphics card, and maintain a handle to it. That handle can then be bound to a shader, to a uniform, say, hey, here is like the texture data. Now, how the rasterizing code interprets that texture data is down to the sampler. So like, what do you do when you like reach the edge of the texture, but you've still got more like the triangle to paint? Do you clamp it? Do you wrap it around? there's a whole bunch of things you can do around that. I think MIP maps are part of the sampler as well. It basically provides additional context to the graphics card on how to like sample it, right? How to actually pull the textual data down. Texture is the data, sampler is how to read it. So OpenGL by default combines the two, as in you can set sampler data on the texture. However, I always prefer, but it also supports having a separate sampler object, which I always prefer. I think they are two separate concepts, and I'd rather use the two separate APIs for that. There's probably other advantages as well, but that's kind of the main one in my mind. I think it's just a better separation of responsibility. Now I kind of now I need to like bandy around two objects rather than one. So rather than having like a collection of textures, because an entity might have a normal map, it might have a whatever now albedo map. In the future, if we did PBR, not probably as part of this, it might have a roughness, that kind of thing. So the texture and the sampler are somehow intertwined. So not somehow, are inherently intertwined. So this is why I sort of stuffed them together. So we could create like a struct text samp, right? Which I absolutely hate the name of. Or I already don't like the name of this, right? And then inside that we can have the const texture const sampler, right? So I think this is, or I should give those a name. So this kind of probably is okay. It's what I probably should have done to start with, but I'm actually thinking there is a one-to-many mapping. Every texture can have has to have a one sampler, but a sampler could be in many textures. So I'm wondering if the texture object itself should own the sampler, as own a reference to the sampler. And by reference I mean pointer, obviously. Like, should all these constructors just take a sampler, and then there's like a get sampler? I think that might be better, right? And then you could change them easily at runtime if you needed to. Like, oh, now render with this sampler. Not that you would. I could really see a reason you would. But like, I think that makes sense. Like, again, you are kind of coupling them together slightly, but they are inherently coupled, and there's a one-to-many mapping. So it makes absolutely no sense for sampler to have like a collection of textures it owns. I think that's why I did them separate originally, because I wanted to keep them separate, like not couple them together. But I think I don't care. That I don't think you would ever pass a texture without a sampler. I don't think that makes any sense. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna see what kind of mess it makes. The only thing is that no, I don't think this will work, because TLV won't know at that point, right? Because TLV reader. No. TLV entry? Isn't one of these like a texture? Oh, does it not? Okay, my question is, does the TLV code produce a texture? Because it will then, by coupling the sampler to all the constructors, if the TLV produces a texture, it will need to know about it. But I think it might not. I think it just produces the individual bits of data, right? And then ultimately it just produces a texture description, which is what we actually then use to create the texture. So no, the sampler can't go in the texture description, as I want to keep those separate out of that. In future we might need to add a sampler to this potentially. So I think I've convinced myself I'm right. Or at least I'm not too wrong. So this will have a const sampler, and then we'll do auto sampler const, getting all the consts in there. Okay, and now I think we could also default these to null pointer if we didn't want to, but I'm going to force it for now. Right. Texture. Sampler. Right, and then right, so let's do const sampler. Okay, right. Now stick those in the initializer lists, and we are good to go. That is did not want that at all. Right. Okay. So I think some of these. Do we still need all these constructors? I guess probably. I really can't remember. I know we sort of added. We did spend a little bit of time trying to figure all these out. I do like this idea of like in a stream doing something, doing a big thing, and then spending the rest of the time doing like a small thing, just like continuously making progress in both like big and small strides. Yeah, we changed it all to load from the TLV, so I don't think like this one here. Like, who's even used? What is this even? Oh no, you do need this one for. Oh, interesting. Okay, actually, we don't want the sampler on this, right? Because a frame buffer and a depth don't have a sampler, as far as I'm aware. So when you're creating this like non-graphic, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the text you would kind of expect, like an image-based texture, right? Not a depth buffer or a frame buffer. So I think actually, no. This is gonna be fun. We're gonna remember some stuff. We're gonna figure out some stuff. It's gonna be good. Can we do it all in 15 minutes? Okay. Let's see where this goes. Bang. $15 minutes-ish. I mean, like, it's not like, it's like, got to finish. Go to bed. Okay. I was expecting a few to be in main. I think I saw that. Oh, yeah. Absolute eye bleed. So I'm interested in the ones in texture itself. Like why have I broken? So I passed this on. So that should be sampler. Oh, that's potentially a bug there. Like, because I remember this. I'm like, I'll just construct another one from within me and swap out the gubbins. What texture should probably actually have a swap method on it. Is this the only place I do this? shouldn't matter because it will get copied over. So I think it's okay. It seems yeah, it is dodgy. I remember it being dodgy at the time we wrote it. What I didn't want to do is just recopy all the logic over. Maybe this is tech debt we fix in the future. I think this is fine for now. Yeah, like I said, I do a fair amount of like teaching and mentoring and stuff like that, so I'm quite used to talking and coding at the same time. Would it matter if sampler is reference counted? I mean, in theory, as long as you don't create a circular dependency, reference counting should just kind of always work, because you would be increasing the reference count as you pass it in here, and then when this goes out of scope, presumably that would then decrease it, so I think it'd be fine. Yes, this is Dracula, so I missed that. Yeah, it is my favourite theme. I use it for literally everything. And actually, it's a good point from Jim there. I'm just chatting now. I'm quite funny about my setup. Like, I want my setup to work wherever I am, like on any kind of platform. And one of the things is having consistent fonts, consistent ligatures, consistent colors. So I've only really kind of committed to a couple of themes before, and they're always ones that have like wide availability. So I use Solaris, not Solaris, Solarized for ages because it's really widely available. Then I used something else, and I found Dracula, and I was like, well, I really like pink, so that's a tick in the box. And also like, oh, it supports everything, so it means that it doesn't matter what editor I use. Like if I switch to VS Code, if I have to get up like a JetBrains IDE, I can get all the major terminals support it. I just like get a consistent color scheme, and for me that is important for me. It might not be important for you. It is important for me. Right, okay, so let's go fix. I really like AC's comment there that I don't have to stop and figure out how to make the language do it. I feel like I spend all my time stopping to figure out how to make the language do something. Like it's a nice sentiment. I get what you I do get what you mean, but I just feel like maybe because I have enough experience, I can kind of just talk and code at the same time. Then the problems I tend to hit are the really grim ones. I got something so. Right, so that'd be okay, fine. So maybe I can just reuse. I don't even need a floor sampler anymore, right? Because now I can just use that, and then I will change entity to not to be a vector of texture pointers, because again I don't want to own it. Okay, and entity itself. Oh, hang on. Did I change the signature for? No, I didn't. Get a span of those. Okay. Okay, get them. Oh, it's all gone. What? Where'd it go? Fine. Still occasionally fat finger the terminal command, and then everything just disappears from underneath my feet. Just it's part of the fun of C++. I don't think I've ever worked anywhere where I've not at some point found a compiler bug, which is fun. A variable conversion from return value type of const to debate. So that's just how spans work, isn't it? Why OpenGL? Why not? That is a little bit glib. I am not a graphics expert by any means, shape, or form. I've never worked in the games or graphics industry. I'm kind of figuring out all this as I go along. But having always been interested in messing around with graphic stuff, I've the most sort of personal experience with OpenGL, so that's why I went for it, because I thought if you're going to show up and have a go at doing something in front of 100, 150 people live, I want to have the best chance of not making a total burk of myself, and I'd say probably about 50% hitting that goal. Why can't I convert these things? What am I doing wrong? Cannot convert from a vector of texture pointers to a span of texture pointers. I thought that was... Is that not just... Is that not what we had before? Right? Am I missing something here? What did we have before? Entity, look at the wrong one. Yeah, it just returned textures, right? Which was a vector of tuples. It was a vector of const things before, right? It was a vector of tuples of const pointers, and it's only the pointers. Like, I thought the whole point of a span was that there were type deduction rules to allow you to basically return the main collections as in like, here is a non-owning view over this data. But the tuples were not const. But texture is not. So it's a. You have to remember this is not a constant pointer. It's a pointer to const data. Right? Const is left binding unless it's on the right. Sorry. Left binding unless it's on the furthest left. So this is unless I've messed up the base entity one, or I've not saved it. This is my usual trick. So this vector contains pointers to constant textures, right? How strange. I'm struggling to see the difference there. Because like, what's it like? Be something like stood. Oh, no! Don't give me the answer, Copilot. I don't want to know. Begin textures, stood, ranges, size, textures, right? I guess that would be the alternative. Is it like that? Yeah. I don't know why it's... I don't know why it's being a dick about it. Come on, compiler. I was just absolute soup of errors. Return. Could not. Could be. Could be this. Oh, it's gone. Might not be. Note, does not take 2 arguments. It 100% does take 2 arguments. I wonder if it can't disambiguate between the iterated ones. I mean, this one here takes 2 arguments, right? The iterator and the sentinel. Cannot convert argument 1. Oh, is it just the call site? Is this error just percolating through from the call site? That would be really weird, but so material bind textures. Oh right, okay, we got to make progress. Like I've got to at least go and fix all this as well. Okay, so wow, I really regret using this tuple for this. Oh look, ranges. So you won't be able to do that anymore, but you will be able to do texture. Alright, and then this will be sampler? Sure, why not? Why is it not like that? Too many arguments to function call. Oh, of course, I don't need to. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, so const, I named it twice. Right. Let's see if see what that does for us. Yeah. So renderer now. I just get more perplexed as the stream goes on and I sort of delve deeper into weirder and weirder C++ issues. Christ, I forgot about Skybox. Oh, what a pig's ear this now is. I've just realised what's happened. Where I was like, oh, you never need to set a sampler and a frame buffer. What's the point of that? Well, if you want to render that, then yeah, sure. So what basically this is doing, the post processing. Why is it using the Skybox sampler? The Skybox is drawn first, isn't it? Yeah. Did I just need a sampler? going to end up in a null pointer dereference. I can feel it. Because the color texture in the frame buffer maybe does need a sampler? Or I need to be able to set it separately. Oh, what a pain. I think this is still right. I think the answer is a little bit gross, and it's to maintain the old API still. But oh, hey, just so you know, in this really weird case, I might have a separate sampler that's not part of the texture because it's come from a frame buffer. So I think that's the right, and then alright, so I think that's what I want, and then this will use D2F that. So, steady. Sampler native handle, okay, and then this just becomes void, right? So this just becomes like bind texture sampler, okay. Probably want an index in there. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So again, like I'm not building like an engine that can be reused. I'm building just the mechanics making a game, which look a lot like an engine, but with infinitely less useful. Yeah, you can. Well, so these. So there's kind of two parts to your question there. Robert Pattinson. This has what's called trading return types. So actually, the return type is still well specified. It's just here. Obviously, didn't want to check that. So ignore that. So here, look, like I just specify here. It's just an alternative style that I'm playing around with, and I quite like. If you drop this off, then auto. And keep the auto, it will convert it into a template. So it'll be as if you had a templated return type, and it will follow all the same type deduction rules. So you can get both, or so you can have both. Okay, we're getting there. Entity. Yeah, I'm not surprised it doesn't like this. Like, I'm pretty sure it should just be this. I'm just gonna have to bash my head against that compiler error. I think let's try and fix everything else first. Are we down to the last error where I just have to? There's a whole lot of stuff in main. That's good. It's just I want to fix the problems I can. Fix the solvable problems first. Recover, sure. So now I don't need text, so I can get rid of text sample, which I hate. And I don't need this array of samplers anymore because I just reuse the same one. Nice. In fact, actually, I don't even need this. This all goes away, right? Because I just need. Actually, no. Let's keep that because they all need the same one. But this just becomes. Ooh, it's not that. Careful, steady. Textures. All right. Why is it not like this? I just need the one texture in an array. I think I can do that. Yeah, like that. Okay, what does it not like about textures? Oh, is it a vector rather than array? Probably should take a span, right? There's no reason. There's literally no reason that should be the case, right? I think I should take a span, and then do something like stood ranges c begin textures stood ranges c end textures. Right, okay, so that should work, right? So now if I go back to main, nice, okay, fine. Oh, I did get raided. Sorry, I completely missed that. I was so in the zone. Hello, welcome everyone. Apologies, I wasn't paying attention. How long was that? Like 2 minutes. I do apologize. I'm currently trying to figure out some super miserable C++ like nuance. You're more than welcome to join us. 21 people, nice. What am I doing? So it won't be able to deduce this to a span now, but I'm not too. I don't think I care. I think it should be just like const game texture floor textures equals floor texture. Yes, I know I've missed the pointer sign. It's there, right? Is that what I did up here? Yes, okay, fine. And then this should just be floor. Nope, take that back. And then that just becomes floor textures because we now take a span. So that's okay. Game textures. Okay. Let's see what the compiler has to say about this, shall we? Last I checked, IDA's decompiler was better, but I've not really sort of done a side-by-side comparison since I've basically stopped paying for IDA. So it's hard to say, really. I wouldn't like to objectively say. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. So somewhere in here is the error I want. So we've got the return error, which I don't understand, and then we've got this main error, which I feel I should be able to understand. So we've got where is it not like it in main 103. Is it because I've just like straight up just like misnamed that variable? Nice. The Twitch stream accounts approaching the YouTuber one, which has not happened before, so it's exciting. Welcome all new people. Do feel free to ask questions and figure I'll do my best to answer them around what's going on. How to convert const vector t into this seems just returning span const t. Interesting. So are you saying that it does need a const type rather than just a pointer to a const type? I'm happy to give it a go. So you're suggesting that it is this. So remember, const is left binding. So this would now be a constant pointer to a constant texture. Always read right to left. Oh, I mean, like, sure is less grumpy about it. Okay, where are we at to now? Back to renderer 163. Already unhappy. Basically, I've got to make that change everywhere I pass it in now. Make? Where'd that come from? Did that last stream. It's because my latest the project for the latest video I wrote a makefile for, which I'm full of regret, and I should have just done CMake. But I've sort of been muscle memory typing make for the last sort of 3 weeks. Yeah, I have very little experience with Bio Ninja. I've used Ida quite a lot in the past. Ghidra, I mean, the price is right for Ghidra. It's kind of hard to argue with it, really, and it's enough for me to get by. But Ida, last time I used Ida, which was quite a few years ago, it was definitely better. They're all sort of solving what is quite a hard problem, so it's kind of understandable they would have diverged in their implementation. Okay, right, let's see if this still blends. In theory, everything should work the same. Nice, okay, nailed it. Wow, successful refactor. Like, I think depends what your project is, right? If your project is 10,000 files, I would say you're probably wasting a lot of time building them all yourself. If you're just getting started and you have just main CPP, then just driving it via Clang or GCC or CL.exe or whatever, it's absolutely fine. I really wouldn't stress about it. I think adding on the cognitive overhead of trying to figure out a build system whilst you're also trying to learn C++ is quite a lot. It is a skill you will eventually have to acquire, but I think you can kick the can down the road for a little bit while you just sort of figure out what the hell's going on and what all the miserable error messages mean. What's my draw distance? Like, really short. We could actually probably go and have a look at that. In the camera, right? I think we, when we wrote all this, oh, it's 100. Okay, let's make it 10x. Let's 10x that. Let's treat ourselves to a really far draw distance. Oh, that's better. Yeah, nice. So I think the boxes. That's funny. It's still checkered on the edge. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a bunch of transformers that we can attach. I say to attach in the looser sense term. We can associate with some meshes. We've got one that is static, we've got one that moves with the camera, and then we've got one that moves in the opposite direction to the camera. I take zero responsibility if you have watched my video and decided to suffer through CMake. Just to point out, I've never made anyone use CMake. I mean, outside maybe a professional context where I was like, we should use CMake. That's cool. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm just the worst. Why is everyone ganging up on me? Like, I feel like, why am I the bad guy here? You can't really see the lights on the floor anymore. I do wonder if we made one of those squares white, it would show up better. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, I know. Okay. Can we make the floor highly reflective? Do we have that? As in, like, screen space reflection, because that's a totally different kettle of fish, or do you mean just like very specular? Because the answer is I don't know. We did have like a specular map, didn't we? With the barrel, with the crates, like really early on. I feel like you're just trying to keep me streaming for a little bit longer. Right, one of these textures is definitely like a specular map. Yes, it's here, isn't it? What's like the default? Oh, they all have specular maps, don't they? The main, don't they? They have the metalness, so we could use that as the. Is it just as simple as just that? I bet you're right. That is probably where the weirdness came in. It's probably uninitialized memory somewhere. Much better. That's super shiny now. I don't know. A thing for another day. I don't know how specular is a flat surface anyway. No, I think the middle is not moving. I think what it is it's actually slightly above the ground, so the perspective makes it look like it's always there, right? But I think it's floating slightly above the ground, so as you walk backwards, you can see slightly under it, which gives it the illusion it's sliding away. I think if we take the cube, the floor, whatever I called it, and make it slightly higher, I think that will alleviate the problem. That's a bit better. Still not perfect. Yes, I think you're right. I couldn't remember how big the barrel was. But it might be 1 unit high. But then wasn't the origin a whip? No, definitely not. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully that satisfies everyone. The light's a bit closer to the thing now. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Let's quickly comment this up, and then what do we do? We sort of refactored all this misery to refactor texture to own pointer to sampler. Careful. Ooh, steady. Well done. T. Stream 30. Nice. Where's my button? Aha. Any questions or thoughts before I shut off the evening's entertainment? Deafening silence. Discord is in the works. AC and myself are discussing it kind of offline about what that's going to look like, because I would like one, and I have some thoughts about exactly what I want it to look like, and there's also sort of time commitments and stuff, but it's kind of in the works. Yeah, it's like I said, it's something I'm actively pursuing with the help of AC, who's kindly offered to help out. I will apply my usual weasel words in that I give absolutely zero guarantee of if or when it will materialize, but it sure is a thing that I'm pursuing. Yeah, go write some code, have fun, come make some mistakes, learn some stuff, get some questions, come back, ask me, and I'll see what I can do to help. Cool, right, I think that's it for me. Yeah, that's all I got. Hope everyone has the rest of the good of their Sunday and other English sentences, and I will catch you all on Wednesday when we'll shift some more barrels around. Cool. Catch you later.